It's Diane, the Creative Inkster. I'm here on Tuesday, December 21st, and it is Technique Tuesday. I did a card similar to this quite a few months ago. It's called the Stamping in the Round technique, where you get all these lovely images to be equally distanced around your card front. So, to make this card, you kind of need a specific size, or you at least need to work with that. So this is a piece of cardstock that measures 4 by 4. This is our white piece, and then just slightly larger at 4 1/4 square is the back, the black that I'm going to be layering it onto, and then my card base, which is 4 1/2 by 9, scored in the middle, folded in half. It'll still fit in a typical envelope, no problem. Okay, so you need your Stamparatus or stamp positioning tool for this technique to work. The stamp set I'm using is called In Symmetry, and it is one from the annual catalog, just $23. It does come with a punch, which is the leaf punch, if you want to do it as a bundle for $40.50, but for a stamp set for $23 and 4 greetings and all these beautiful flowers, couldn't be better. Okay, so I'm using a couple of images. I'm using the little flower here, the smaller 2-leaf, and this flower here to make the pattern. So what I've done to set myself up on this is, in my Stamparatus, I've taken a piece of the grid paper, any paper is going to do, and I've drawn, using the grid paper just to help me get the line straight, I've drawn a square kind of in that diamond sort of shape, and then a square opposite. Okay, and they're 4-inch squares. I'm going to slip it in here, and I'm going to grab my piece of white, and I'm going to slide it in between the black marks. Alrighty. Hi Barbara, thanks for joining me. And then I'm going to use my magnets that come with the Stamparatus. You don't want to let these magnets touch one another. They can come together very quickly, they're very strong, and they can crack, and I have a set that happened to, unfortunately. Alright, so we're going to actually start with the pattern going in this corner. Alright, so I've already positioned these where I wanted them to go, and to do that, all I did was put them down on the white paper in the positions within that square. And then I'm ready to ink them up. So to make it a little less messy, I've decided to use my ink spots. I think that's a great thing for your Stamparatus. And I just made these little labels for mine. Typically I would get mine from the Paper Pumpkins, or over time I've made some using our re-inkers for the color and our blank ink spots. Okay, you just like fill them up. So the plan here is to do the little flower in Calypso Coral, the leaves in Pear Pizzazz, and this flower in Daffodil Delight. I'm going to have my chamois handy because they are kind of close together, and it is a little easy to get the color where you don't want it. So I'm going to, you could do this in several steps if you wanted. So I'm adding the Calypso Coral to the little flower, and then I'm going to add the Pear Pizzazz to the leaves like this. Okay, and then just to make sure I haven't gotten anything on this one, because that can happen when it was doing that on me last night, I've gone ahead and wiped it off, and then I will add the yellow here. So I did it in that order just to help me get it landing the way that I want. So I'm going to flip this over to add the ink, and I'm using an eraser, like a dry eraser to help put this down. You can use the flat part of your palm as well. That's another way to do it. So when I lift it up, I can see that I didn't get quite enough on the green. So no problem. I'm going to go ahead and add green. And I'm not going to be quite as careful this time because I can just take my chamois and wipe the excess off the other two. I know that seems a little tedious, but to me it's the best way so far to make this work. Okay, so put it back down, press a little bit more. There we go. Hi, Brenda. All right, so there's our first part. So that's our first segment. We're going to do this 4 times. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the paper and we're going to turn it this way. So we're working within this one square. I have 2 squares because I have a different pattern that I use the same thing with. So this time I want to get the Calypso coral flower up in this corner. So I'm just going to hold this over to show you what I'm doing. Calypso coral flower, and then the leaves, and then the yellow one. So we'll do the same thing again with the ink pad. We'll add the Calypso coral, pear pizzazz. There might be a different order in which I could do these that would help me. I could do all the Calypso coral and green and then come back and do the daffodil, but I don't know. This works fine for me because you've got with your Stamparatus 2 plates that come in, so you could easily put the yellow flower on a different plate. All right, let's see how that does. Lift it up. All right, so again, we just need to add a little bit more. That's not unusual because we're using the Stamparatus for a reason, right? It's so that we can get ink, as much ink as we want, where we want it. You could use, if you didn't have a chamois, you could also use a baby wipe. This just works for me. It's what I use to clean my stamps anyway. All right, let's flip this down and add some more ink and lift it up. There we go. So we're going to repeat that 2 more times. So sticking that open end up in the corner. Cool technique, huh? It's called stamping in the round. And it wouldn't matter if you turned right or left. That's okay. I did used to have washi tape on my magnets to help me lift them up, but I found it was leaving little black marks. It was black washi tape. It was leaving little marks on the paper, so decided maybe I wouldn't do that. Okay, there's Calypso, and now the green, pear pizzazz. And see, this is a whole lot easier than if you're trying to do this with a large ink pad. So we sell uninked 1-inch ink spots that you can use with your refills for, I think it's $12.25, and you get 5 uninked ink spots. Kind of a nice way if you just want to get some inks really quickly. All you have to then purchase is your refills and then these little ink spots. And then as time goes on, if you decide, oh, I don't really like those colors anymore, you can just rinse them out. So that's what I do sometimes because I get my paper pumpkin. Sometimes I get 2 and 3 of the same ink spots, and so I will go ahead and rinse them out and use them over again for a different color. So that's how I ended up getting all 50 colors into ink spots, which is really handy for me. I should show you my little holder because it's really handy when I go to crops, you know, when we're allowed to go places and do things with people. Then I don't have to carry all of my ink pads, and they all fit in a little paper pumpkin box. I'll show you that in a second. So I keep saying I'm going to show that when I do this kind of thing, and I don't. And then clean the daffodil to make sure there's no green on it. And I'm going to add yellow. The more I think about it, the more the 2 window pane pieces that technique would work better. But here we go. This gives you the idea. And I mean, if you were using one color, it would go much simpler. So a little bit more on the Calypso and a little bit more on the green. Clean off the yellow. Yellow went on very well. And we'll just put this down one more time, and that should be all the stamping we need for the round. There we go. So now we can just move this out of the way. I'm just going to clean those off so they don't go onto my template. If you're wondering about the Stamparatus, it's $65, and it's in the annual catalog. You can pick that up. You will find it very, very useful and helpful. Okay, so here we are with this. Now we're going to do some stamping in the middle, and I'm just going to use one of the stamps from that set and my Pear Pizzazz ink, my regular size ink pad. That says thanks so much. Yeah, it is a good stamp set to do this with, isn't it? Thanks so much, right in the middle there. Yeah, anything that can be, well, it's called in symmetry for a reason, but anything that you can do, I've done where it's been a large flower or a medallion looking piece that goes in the corner. Anything that can fill a section works great. Okay, so there's my little ink spots out the way. Whoops. All right, the next thing I'm going to do to finish this card is add my white to the basic black. That just helps it pop. And then we're going to add some black embellishments. There we go. And this here, I just glued it directly down versus using dimensionals. This is our Stampin' Seal if you're not familiar with it. Oops, it's not quite straight there. Okay, and then we have this really pretty black and white gingham ribbon. So I'm going to do a very small bow. I may end up doing it a little bit bigger so that I have a little bit more to hang on to when I'm doing it, but I'm going to pull it tight for a small bow so it doesn't take over the card. So there's a bit of waste there, unfortunately. Grab my paper snips. Now this ribbon, you can so easily take an alcohol-based marker like our Stampin' Blends or a Sharpie, and you can color this in so that it's black and whatever color you use. So that's kind of a cool idea. Ooh, I'm looking for my glue dots. Oh, are they right handy? Unfortunately not. Hold on a second. Here they are. And I'm going to put that on with a glue dot. And then I've got these black matte dots that I'm also going to use on this card. I'm so glad I got this stamp set. It wasn't on my A list from the annual catalog, like my first round list, but I recently got it and it's really lovely. Okay, so these are matte black dots in 3 sizes. Nope, sorry, I lied. Two sizes. Seem to be liking the small ones more. So I will put these guys just on these little, actually, you know what, on this one, maybe what I'll do, so I didn't put it down too hard, put these ones instead in the center of the Calypso Coral ones, just for a different look. And then I'm all set with a couple of lovely thank you cards to send out. Now what you can do if you find that the adhesive is not really strong on the back of these, sometimes it does start to dry out if you've had them for a while, just put a little dot of liquid glue to hold it in place. Okay, so there are my cards. What do you think? Do you like them? I hope so. I wanted to bring over my ink spots to show you what I had done with them. So this is a paper pumpkin box. I just turned it inside out, so you see the brown side, and I just put that on there for decoration. And on the inside, I created these little dividers. Really, all they are is folded paper. And then I have all my little ink spots in here with all of our colors. So basically, I have like neutrals and brights, regals, and subtles, and then I throw the ink colors in there where they'll fit. It holds 50 just perfectly. And so when I go to a crop or I go somewhere to craft at a friend's house, I can just take this with me. Super easy, not big to carry, and I've got all my spots. All right, thank you for watching. I won't be here next week. I'll be taking a little vacation and taking the week off, but back in the new year with all kinds of new products and ideas, and I shall see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.